Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back from Christmas break. It has occurred to me that many of you have not been in school for Christmas break, so I thought I'd go over some adding and subtracting fractions that we did right before Christmas break. Before we get into some easier stuff with multiplying and dividing fractions, that is far easier than adding and subtracting, trust me. I wouldn't lie to you about that. Far easier. Oh, we'll start with the problem. 3/4 plus 1/16. I always encourage the students, no matter how it's written on the paper, if you're adding and subtracting, to write them vertically. Then I'm asking the question. The question is, class, can I add these the way they're written?
No.
No, I cannot. Why can I not? Connor.
Because it's a 16 and that's a 4.
Good. They have to have the same denominator. In order to add fractions or subtract fractions, they must, and I mean they must, have the same denominator. So to find the same denominator, I take my two denominators, and I'm going to list the multiples of the denominator. Multiples, think of a multiplication chart. So 16 times 2 is 32. Let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Which one's the closest one they have, or what's the first one they have in common?
16.
16. 16 is the first one they have in common. I need to change both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 16 without changing the values. Both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 16 without changing the values. That doesn't make sense. Well, if we multiply something by 1, that stays the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what fraction we can use that equals 1 to multiply it by, because like 25 times 1 is 25. 73 times 1 is 73. It doesn't change the value when you multiply by 1. A fraction that has the same numerator as denominator equals 1. So I need to find a fraction to put in both of these boxes, and they're going to be different. Yes, sir.
4 times 4 is 16.
Good. So I ask myself, 4 times what is 16?
4.
4 times 4 is 16. In order to make that fraction equal 1, I have to have a 4 in the numerator and a 4 in the denominator. So now I multiply straight across. 3 times 4 is?
12.
12. So the very same value, 3/4 and 12/16, have the very exact same value. Now, 1/16 is already over 16, so I can just multiply that by 1. I always, and I mean always,
13, 16.
need to go back and check my sign to make sure I used the right sign. Because anytime I give problems that are mixed up, adding and subtracting, I get about half of you that do the wrong operation. And it's addition, so then I'm going to get 13/16. But I want to make sure I can't put that in a simpler form. So I'm going to list my factors of 13, my factors of 16. 13 is prime, so 1 times 13. That's it, it's prime. Just two factors since it's prime, Layla. 16 is 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. If the greatest common factor, the biggest one they have in common, is 1, then my fraction's already in simplified form. The biggest one they have in common, the only one they have in common is 1. If 1's the only one they have in common, this is already in simplest form. This is what showing your work looks like. I don't want to write all that stuff out. I don't care. You ain't in charge of anything. I'm in charge. I'm in charge. Yes, sir.
Do we have to write it like that, or can we do it a different way?
If you want to get it right, yeah. 11/15 minus 3/10. 11/15 minus 3/10. This is going to be a subtraction problem. Can I subtract them the way they are currently written? No. Anybody got an idea what the least common denominator would be?
Looking at me.
Jacob?
30.
30. I can make these both have a denominator of 30. Can't change the value. Cannot change the value. Cannot change the value. Well, that means I got to multiply by a fraction that equals 1. And so I ask myself, 15 times what equals 30? 2. Then I need to use 2 over 2. And multiplying fractions, I told you it was easier. Multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. That's it when we multiply fractions. Straight across. 11 times 2 is? What do I multiply by 10 to get 30?
3.
So I need to multiply by 3/3. Multiplying fractions, straight across.
9.
Straight up 9.
And so I have 9/30. I go back and I check my sign. This is a subtraction problem. The difference of 22 and 9 is what?
13.
13. Are you sure?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
13.
And the rest is history.
And that is in simplified form, I will tell you that.
22 minus 9.
The rest is simplified, or that is simplified form. And I posted on today's lesson in the first class, I did some problems. I'm going to post this in Google Classroom on today's lesson. And you're going to have this as an access. Boom, shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you, do something kind today, save the bees.
Stop!